every time I come to Florida, so I snook fished about 2 years ago. Probably one of my best fishing trips ever down in Tampa. So every time I'm in Florida around water, I want to see if it's a snook around somewhere. Yeah, but it's relaxing because it's not 103 degrees. So
yeah, there you go.
I'll take this.
One of the 4 days of the year we'll get this.
I know, right? I know.
So do you see this matchup as one side as most of us do, or do you give Florida a chance?
It's always, I know it's cliche, it's always a chance. And, I think you look at 2 weeks ago in college football, that proves it's always a chance in this game. And, I think based on, all we do is base this off of history, right? Georgia is a far better team this year, historically, as Florida. But this game has different elements to it. It's not just another game for neither one of these institutions. So I think the thing that I'm looking forward to is if Kirby Smart can get rid of this whole stigma of Georgia, Florida, and just coach it like a regular football game, and not get caught up in the hype, not get caught up in the guys with the different uniform on, and just coach this Georgia team how he's been coaching all season and be process oriented. And then for McElwain on his side, dealing with all the adversity of this year and trying to keep this team together, hold this team together. I would say that this game for him would be a big one just for the psyche of the program. So you got two different elements working against each other in this game that has nothing to do with what actually happens on the field, but everything leading up, I think, is going to have both of these guys at a point where they have their teams ready to play, probably as hard as they played all season.
What would it take for this Florida offense to have any success against Georgia's teams to really shut down those teams?
It's going to have to be big plays, man. Playing for Nick and Kirby being on that staff, they want to make you go the long, hard way, and eventually you make a mistake, right? And that's college football. You'll love to have most quarterbacks in college, you'll love to put them in a situation where they have a 12-play drive. At some point, a mistake is going to get made. That's just the way the game goes. So I think for Kirby, it's not a matter of trying to come out here and do something different than they've been doing all season long. I think for them, they just want to play smart, sound defense and allow Felipe and the offense to make mistakes. That's what McElwain is coaching. Don't turn the football over. When we have the play call and it works out, let's make the play happen. And, if usually in these games it's not a blowout and it comes down to 4 or 5 plays that you can directly look to on Monday when you have the meeting and say, if we would have made those, we would have won. If we didn't make them, then that's why we lost. I don't know if that's going to be the case, but if it is, either one of these guys has a chance to win because you got to – look, Florida still has athletes on their side of the ball. The offensive line has progressed to a point now where they're playing better. There's a lot of things that they can still look forward to playing in this game about and see where the chips fall. But, obviously everybody here knows that based off how the season is when Georgia is in command right now.
Are you surprised that Mac is stuck with Felipe at this point?
Yes, it surprised me. I thought Zaire was going to start the beginning of the season. And I don't know. We in the media always act like we know the dynamics. Like when we had that talk about the culture, like we try to act like we know. We don't know the dynamics. I don't know if Malik doesn't fit what they're doing. I don't know if he's not progressed the way they wanted him to progress. I don't know if he has Felipe in because that's the future of what he's going to be trying to do. I don't know those scenarios. It's surprising to me that Malik had played because of how you struggled and maybe trying to find a spark. But every coach is not they don't go with that same template. They stick with a guy, give him confidence, and hopefully it evolves into him playing well. I would say that would be the mindset more so than just trying to throw a different wrinkle and see what happens.
Florida defensive line's been pretty good the last few weeks against the run. They stopped Travion Williams, contained them, more or less held Geis, held Webb. Do you feel like they're turning the corner, and how much do you think that's going to be an aspect for them being able to stop Chubb, Michelle, and just
that's
short
the
running
key
in general?
To the game. The front seven for Florida is probably the most important unit in this entire game because if you don't stop Georgia from running, they're going to beat you. It don't matter what you do. If you can't limit them to having to have multiple carries, I think right now these guys averaging like 6 yards per carry. That's their average for the year. 2 touches, and that's a first down plus 2. So when you think about how you stop this team, you stop the running, you put it in Jake Fromm's hands. And with this secondary, you probably like your chances if it's a lot of matchups going on in the secondary. So I think the D-line is pivotal. But that's every game, right? You look at this conference, if you stop the run, that's the team that usually wins. There's a direct correlation between the physical point of attack at the line of scrimmage and the score on the scoreboard. Like it's usually always together, and it's either one way or the other. So if they have success in that area, then you find out if Jake Fromm is the guy that you want him to be as a Georgia fan. So I think, the way they like to run zone stretch scheme, they're playing more physical between the guards and the center now at Georgia. Some of their blocking schemes and concepts have changed, but they're doing it at a high level. We'll see how it goes. The thing is, man, and people talk about these rivalry games and they talk about teams playing, there is a different element because most of these dudes know each other, right? So you don't come in with the stigma of this is to Florida, Georgia is not 7-0. That's just a bunch of dudes we've been playing against in high school, and we knew them on the recruiting trail. So that's really the essence of a rivalry. That's why people talk about it, because most of the guys on the field, a lot of them play high school ball together, or they from around the same counties. So you don't bring in that lore that you have when you play in the game. And that's probably why so many times Georgia has came into this game favored and lost, because they know each other. It's just like when I was playing in the NFC East in Dallas. We were clearly better than Washington and Philly and the Giants some years. Didn't matter. They knew us. They knew the plays we were running. They knew the guys across the line of scrimmage. It was 4 and 5 years of playing against the same dudes. So you throw all of the stats and all of that stuff out the window, and it usually comes down to the front seven, the physical nature in which you play, and whoever makes those 2 or 3 plays that decides the game.
And with that front seven, Jordan Sherrod now being out for the year, just veteran presence there, just how much is that going to impact them?
It's a big loss, and I think just from an experience standpoint, he's a physical player at the point of attack, and I think anytime you lose like your interior guys, it really puts a strain, because usually the guy that's behind him hadn't played a lot, especially in big moments like this, and when you don't have the experience of playing SEC football, like the physical dominance that it takes in these type of games, it can get a little grassy. But, Ron is a good coach, and he'll have these guys ready to go.
The more vocal part of the fan base is kind of turning on Mac and losing faith.
Which is freaking crazy to me.
How far away do you think this program is now? 2.5 years in?
Far away from what?
From where they're trying to get to.
Like winning the SEC title and making the college.
You're having a season like Georgia's having right
now. Not really far. I mean, look, Georgia has changed the narrative. Kirby came in and he recruited the line of scrimmage. It's the biggest difference from Georgia last year. They had skill position players. They had these running backs that were there last year. So it's the line of scrimmage. I think for Florida coming into the season, the expectation of how good this offensive line was supposed to be, a lot of guys returning on defense, usually very good in the secondary. I think they're very good again this year. So I don't think you're far away. I mean, you start losing in recruiting, maybe you start questioning, are we really doing what we have to do to get to the point? They're not even to that point yet. So I just, it's so, college football now is so fickle, man. Like it is 1 week and all hell is broken loose, and that's just not the case. Like, you have to play these games. The 24-hour rule is a real thing. Like, you got to get rid of it and put it in the past. You got 10 starters not playing. 10 guys not playing. You got 2 of your best offensive guys hadn't played a game this season, and you still managing the fight and go out there and play. Offensive production hadn't been what you wanted it to be. Mac has figured out ways to win without it. So I really get crazy about that. I believe in giving coaches time, and this is year 3. Yeah. So, like, at what point do we say, are we gonna get into this revolving cycle of and be where Tennessee is? Because that's where you could go if you decide after 2 years your coach ain't good enough to get you where you want to go. I give Tennessee credit for keeping Bush this long to trying to see if the transition can be made. I don't know what they're going to do at the end of the season, but you give a coach 5 years, that's time to see progress. And in some areas Tennessee has. So I think, the Florida fan base is obviously disappointed, right? And they want things to be different. Just the reality of this game is that, especially in this conference, you're not going to be Alabama. That's not who you're going to be. Yeah. So when you get the opportunity to be that team, take advantage of it, and you'll be fine. But I mean, the comparables, and I even found myself doing it my first couple of years at this network. Like, even with my school, who I'm a fan of, like, when are we gonna get to the point where we back physical at the line of scrimmage and we can win these type of games? Stop comparing yourself to that. That is what's happening in Tuscaloosa is generational. Like, this is not something that you're gonna see in college football every other year. So I think that's the problem with a lot of fan bases, and people are comparing their coaches to that, and it's just not realistic right now, man.
Give me a quick thought about working with Tebow. What's he like?
I hate it, man. Nah, it's amazing, bro. The thing is, you grow and you learn, and me and Tebow are separated by a few years. He played at a different time. Obviously knew about him and all of the stuff that he had done in football-wise, but I think the person, like, he's a phenomenal dude. And sometimes, like, especially when you're in my position and you play in the league and you're in Dallas in a big market, you meet a lot of people and you talk to a lot of guys, and you just don't know if that's their true nature. Like, when the cameras come on, they can say the right things and do it. He just lives that way. And I think that's the thing that I respect about him the most, to be so young. Like, I'm going to go have drinks. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to hang out with my boys. I'm going to sling a few curse words out there every once in a while. That's just in my nature. That's how I grew up. Tim Dutton, he lives it. He's true to himself. And I think that's the most impressive thing about him, is that he's just been true to himself. Even in my experience over these last 4 years, he's been the same dude day one when I walked in to he is now.
Awesome.
Yep.
Marcus,
Super.
thank you.
All right,